welcome. So glad you're here. This is LeVar Green with the Purpose Playbook, and I stay mad. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for making some time today. Thank you for investing in yourself today. Our goal today is to get you closer to the stages of life fulfillment, the things that you have been dreaming about doing, the things that you see yourself doing in your dreams, the things that you've been seeing for years and wondering why maybe they haven't come to pass yet. Today is a day where we, through discovery, through development, through deployment tactics, will help you get closer to realizing that. So before we begin, and I'll say this multiple times throughout, make sure you check your emails. There was a Purpose Playbook Huddle activity sheet that was actually sent to your email that we will kind of go through today that will help you track and log some of the steps, some of the stages, and the things needed to actually help you get to where you're supposed to be. So as you join, as you chime in, once again, check your emails to make sure that you have the activity sheet that was sent out. We sent you a few reminders starting from yesterday all the way up until this morning. So here again, thank you for joining. Thank you for being here. And we're going to start rocking and rolling with this thing, man. So I want to talk about this. I'm going to talk about 5 questions that I think people ask at some point in their life. And I say this because life is meant to push us to the point that we begin to develop and become the very thing that God made us to become. Like, we were created full of purpose. We were created full of passions. But what's the difference, right? How do you tell the difference between one or the other? Passions bring more of that emotion, right? But purpose is like this, I'm compelled to achieve this thing. And when you can start telling the difference between the two, and they still might intertwine and really should based on how he created us, then you can start living more of a purpose-filled and meaningful life. And that's the goal, a purpose-filled, meaningful life. So give me 1 second, let me just check, let people in the room for our Zoom. We are live with Zoom as well. Get people in. So once again, thank you for joining. So make sure you have your worksheet, make sure you follow along today. And here again, we'll just keep moving forward. So what are those questions? Who am I? Where am I from? Why am I here? What can I do? And where am I going? If you ask yourself those questions at any point in your life, you're actually on the right track. No matter how it came to your mind, no matter what made you get to that point to even ask that question, the big thing is that you ask them. If you want to hear them again, here they are. Who am I? That's an identity question. Where am I from? It's not even so much a locale more than it is a source of existence. Why am I here? It's definitely purpose. What can I do? It's potential. And where am I going? That's a question about your future. That's a question about what do I see myself doing, not just in the next year, but what do I see myself doing in my life? That is a question that all of us have sat down, and I hope all of us have sat down and pondered. What am I supposed to be doing with myself? I don't know what age it happens for everybody, but I believe we all come to this point to where we start wondering, how did I get here? Till we start wondering, well, I know I didn't will myself to be here, so then how am I here? And then, what am I here to do? What's the reason behind it? What's the meaning of life? You know, we're gonna talk some Bible today, and don't look at it, don't turn off, it's not a religious book. The Bible is literally full of principles for life success, full of business principles, life principles, things to do, things not to do, that can ensure you to live a more quality and fulfilled life full of meaning. Because people with an assignment are always, for the most part, on task. Like when you're given assignments at work, and when you know you have a day full of a list of to-dos, then you typically stay on task because you have things, what, to do. So if you don't figure out your assignment in life, what we consider to be discovery of your purpose, then you might go through life not knowing what to do, which is so dangerous. You may or may not have heard what I'm going to say next, but the wealthiest place on the planet, let me see if you're thinking about it, the graveyard, absolutely, is where people have existed and then are planted or buried, full of gifts, talents, skills, and abilities that they never tapped into, that they never did anything with, not just because maybe they just didn't want to, but in some cases, yes, but maybe because they didn't know how to. Like, what if there was a coach that, or a person that could have provided some vital information that could have helped them break through the old way of thinking, the old way of doing things, the things that they felt crippled them from living a full and filled life. There are so many people with so many gifts and so many skills and abilities, but we don't know sometimes how to move from no movement to movement. It's like the kinetic energy. There has to be an outside force to get the movement going. And then even to get the movement stopped, there has to be an outside force to stop it. But it's so much easier to keep something going once you start. Think about pushing a car. It's really the first part of getting it moving that might be the hardest. But if you're on a flat surface or a flat terrain, you're good. And oh yeah, don't get to where the terrain is going downhill. You might have to try to now keep up with the car. But sometimes there'll be an uphill climb or battle that now you got to kick in a whole nother level of energy and strength and maybe even assistance from others to keep the movement going. See, I talked about the Bible having all these principles. And here again, don't click off, y'all. It's not a religious book. It's about a king, a kingdom, and his kids and his culture that's supposed to have all these benefits and resources that will help us move to new levels of living. But it's not how it's really presented for the most part. And then the employees of the kingdom sometimes rub through the wrong way. And thus, nobody wants to know about the king nor his rules. We'll work. But I want to even show you real quick 5 steps. 5 steps, action items that will help you through this process. And then we're going to jump into how you can actually get to the discovery of your purpose. Like the book of Psalms, chapter 1, it explains how a person can almost really guarantee prosperity and success. It gives you 5 steps of 3 things of what not to do, which shows a progression of movement to slow movement to none at all. See that progression in reverse? And then it gives you 2 things to do that says, now this person, if they do them, they're guaranteed for success. 5 action items that guarantee your success. And it's really so simple. It says, don't walk with people who are wicked. That's movement. You're walking, but you might be walking with the wrong crowd. Then it says, don't stand. Now look how the progression have just shifted from walking, some type of positive movement, some type of movement. But now it said, don't stand in the way that sinners take. So you went from walking with the wrong crowd to now they may have said something, did something, to now you're standing there for whatever reason, pondering your next moves, but now you're not moving. Then it says, don't sit in the company of mockers. Look at that. From walking to standing to now sitting. Movement has now stopped. Life progression has now stopped. Steps that were probably moving you closer to your purpose, closer to your destiny, have now stopped based on the company we decide to keep. That's key. It's religious. That's like practical common sense. Because if you walk with people who are committing crimes intentionally, doing things illegal and trying to hurt and harm folk, man, that's really not a good look. And then if you stand with them and start contemplating what to do next, that's still not a good look. And now if you sit down with them, and it's almost like you're sitting at this table, conspiring, but there's no movement now in your life. You have went in a total reverse from what your progression is for your purpose. Now you're moving back to where you're that many more steps away from what you're called and destined to do, because everything that was created has a purpose. If a snowflake, and somebody look this up later, a snowflake, they have so many beautiful designs, they put them under a microscope. And these things melt within seconds. But the Creator took so much time to design these, then why wouldn't a human being be full of purpose? That's like a question I've had for years. Everybody has to have purpose and value. And I feel like one of the greatest enemies of that is when people don't realize their value or their purpose and their assignment. Then the question is of why am I here gets heavier and heavier in their mind and their heart. And now they probably feel like I don't have a sense of belonging. And then they probably don't want to be here. So my goal, my purpose in life for me is to help everybody come to a realization of how much potential you have inside, because everybody has potential. Everybody has purpose. Everyone in here, everyone online, you have purpose and potential, but you have to be ready to go through what comes with that, what comes with realizing that. And yes, life is going to throw life at you. God is really going to let things happen because most people will not put themselves in an uncomfortable position. How do I know? Think about it. Think about athletic people, high level, high achieving sports, athletes and contenders, right? They are the closest human beings that will choose to intentionally put themselves in an uncomfortable position for growth, muscular development, for developing their game and their skills and their knowledge of the game. Long days, long hours, blood, sweat, and tears, these men and women put themselves into to get better at something that they say they love and that they feel they were made to do. How many of us will do that? Think about it. Even in I played sports for a long time. Down in Miami, Florida, played college football up in Ohio. Think about it. The coaches even at times knew, well, the players need to get in better condition because we have a game coming up and we have a competition coming up, right? And then they make us do more sprints. They make us go to the weight room. They make us do some type of activity that's going to bring something else outside that's on the inside. And we may not even know we need it at times because most of us complain, come on, coach, not another rep. But he knows the next rep is so important because that rep will help us win that play in the game that's not even here yet. How does that relate to your life? Because life is not a game. Life is not a game. We get one as we know. So if we choose not to put ourselves in uncomfortable positions, then when that moment comes, the moment that could catapult our lives for generations to come, that will put us in a better position than we can ever even imagine, we're not ready because we weren't doing the things that will prepare us for it. Hence the importance of knowing your assignment, knowing your purpose, full discovery, intentional discovery of what you were sent here to do. So the why am I here is so important. But where did I come from? Is kind of what leads the question of why am I here? Because once you start wondering how you got here, then you want to know, since I'm here, what am I here for? Think about people who get a new job. They get the job, yeah, they see the job duties and responsibilities, and they get there, and then now they're told and given tasks and things that they do throughout the day so they can stay on task. So for the company or the organization they're at, they can fulfill the mission and the goals. This is not their mission and their goals. This is for somebody else. This is most of us, I would say, that have a 9 to 5, are working for somebody else's mission, somebody else's dream. Something they decided to start, and now it had grew to a level where they needed to employ people to do the things that either they didn't like doing, they don't want to do, or they don't have time to do because it's too much to do. And think about it. Right at that moment, most of us have, at that moment when we looked for a job and accepted it, we sold ourselves to the highest bidder and threw our dream out the door because now we're in a system that doesn't necessarily look like it's made for us to win. Our company is birthed on that there. We're in a system that probably has stirred up a level of aggravation, frustration, that's not meant for us to just soak and complain, but to use that level of emotion to get in motion and do what you're made to do. The company name is I Stay Mad. It sounds crazy, it sounds negative, but I stay motivated and determined to make sure I do everything in my power to help everybody I come across with to realize their purpose, their skills, and their abilities, and how to develop it and really look at life and see how life has already been putting you in a development stage, but not only there, to get you to the point to where now you can deploy yourself and remove yourself from employment. And sometimes both. Like I mentioned before, there's this book that has so many principles in there that tells you that. There's a passage that says, sow your seed in the day and don't let your hands be idle in the evening, because you don't know if this or that or both will succeed. Listen, that's a business principle. What does that mean? Go to your job, get home and work on your grind, your side hustle, because you don't know which one will ultimately take over. But you got to work hard in both. And when you get home, don't come home just chilling and doing nothing. Tomorrow I work at night. Okay, come home in the morning and do what you gotta do. 30 minutes a day, an hour a day. Y'all, how bad do you really want it is the question. How bad do you want to transcend and transition from your current state is what a decision and a choice all of us have to make. Do you love what you're doing or do you not? And if you're in between, and if you have these questions that I've already asked about, where am I from? What am I doing here? What's my purpose? What can I do? All these identity and purpose questions and potential questions, then it's time for us to make a choice to where now I have to do something different. So if I've been coming home every day and just napping and relaxing and Netflixing and binge watching, and I still say, man, life sucks and I want more than this, is something ever really gonna happen? I'm a believer in Christ. So let me talk to some of them folks. You gonna come home and just pray? And just pray? That's it? Not to minimize prayer, but you got to do some work. You got to do some work. Another principle of Bible. Believe in no works is dead. They use the word faith. But you can believe all day and refuse to work and you're not doing anything. The work has to come. And it's not just hard work, but it's smart work. Knowing what to do, which is why many of us sometimes need a coach, need to read a book, need to see some things and see some people who have done what we may be trying to do. And it's not that we're mimicking what they're doing or what they have done, but to see a blueprint to get us in a different mindset. Now, the dangers of wanting to discover your purpose, to become more aware of, I gotta be here for more than this. This can't be like this. Go to work, come home, pay bills, repeat. Since we know that's not the meaning of life, and now that you become more aware of, I have to have more in me than this, it's kind of like when you think about a car or something you want to buy, then all of a sudden you see it everywhere because your level of awareness has been piqued and the spark has been lit. And now it's on your mind. And now the very things that have already been around you in close proximity become to stand out, and you see them more, and you feel it more now as we transition back to talking about purpose. Because now that you want to know, life looks more intentional. Life has the potential to be more intentional. And you have to be more intentional on your steps. So now that you have this level of awareness of, I really want to know what I'm here for, great. Here it comes. Now, your dreams that you're starting to have or have again, your vision, if you have an idea of what your purpose is, chaos is on its way because it has to be tested. Let's talk about another person that went through a test, and there are 3 different types of tests that we had to go through until we can almost be ready for the release. Your appetite, test of power and pride. Here again, just bear with me. In the Bible, before Jesus started talking and fulfilling his purpose, he was taken to the wilderness. Think about it. He was taken to a barren area to be tempted by Satan, but tested by God. He was taken there. That sounds intentional, that an outside force takes somebody to a place to test them. And then through the testing, there will be forces to tempt you. And the first test was about appetite because he was taken to the wilderness. And then after the 40 days of fasting, weak now, frustrated probably. Think about it. When you don't get food, who's hangry or hungry, whatever they call it? Who's frustrated? Who feels weak? imagine how you feel like one day. So right after the long period of some type of suffering, then the test or the temptation shows up. And the test for appetite. If we can't pass that as humans, we'll never progress. What is that? Threefold. Your appetite for food, like the thing that you think you need, money, and even sex. Three things that destroy humans all the time. If we eat too much, we're killing ourselves internally. And if we're so focused on money, and that's all we think about, and think about when some people do get it, it still doesn't satisfy, and then they still take themselves out. And then with the sex thing, being around with too many people, here again, you're putting yourself in potential danger on many different aspects from different diseases. So those three appetites, if you can't control them, because think about it, if you're always eating, always only chasing money, which sometimes people say, well, that's how you be successful. Not necessarily. And if you're always trying to do something with that's involving that sex appetite, then are you doing the things that you're meant to do for your purpose? It's no different than other distractions. My appetite to divulge and to consume TV. Think about it. That's still an appetite. To consume somebody else telling me a vision, television. If I can't control that appetite, then I'm also putting myself in a tough position. I'm putting myself in a position where I'm not spending time doing what I'm made to do. So every appetite or whatever you choose to consume still has the ability to knock you off course from whatever your purpose is. And your purpose is what really matters in life, because if you don't know that, then how can you truly be successful? So let's talk about that real quick. You have an inventor who invents something. Let's talk about the cell phone, for example. Cell phone invented, and I'll use the iPhones, for example. Steve Jobs and his team, he's not here no longer, but let's say you actually know him personally. Just keep that in the back of your mind. You know him personally. That's your boy. You know him, right? Y'all talk a lot. But the cell phone was invented really to make calls, to communicate. But they have a whole lot of other features that a lot of times none of us read the manual to find out all of what it's made to do. So let's say I take my cell phone and I never use it to make calls, but I'm always complaining that, man, I can't get in contact with anybody. How smart is that? Now, I'm using it for all the other intended uses. I'm taking pictures and everything else, but I'm not using it to make phone calls, but yet I'm always complaining about not being able to call people when I need to call them. So I'm still using some of its features and functions, but there's still an abnormal abuse of this device that the inventor made to make calls. It was made to communicate. It was made to reach out, in addition to all the other features. But now let's say that cell phone starts to malfunction. Let's say it starts to mess up after one of these updates they give us. You know how that goes, right? And it starts to mess up. And you have this iPhone, and you probably have tried other aspects to get it fixed. You went to the stores and they can't fix it. Would you ever call the person who invented it? I mean, you got access to them. Why not? Call the creator of the iPhone, because that's your boy. Let's say, like I said, you know him. You call the creator of the iPhone and say, hey, bro, phone's messing up. Oh man, let me see it. I'll get it back right. So why do I use that analogy as we talk about purpose discovery? We're still on stage one. As we talk about purpose discovery and the importance thereof, we're down here for the most part, y'all, malfunctioning, abused by ourselves, by others, in some horrific situations. Not used according to our potential, according to our purpose. No fault of our own sometimes, because we just don't know. Or some things happen to us that we didn't control. We didn't ask for it to happen. But the one thing you gotta refuse to do is give up. You have to choose to keep fighting through every situation that comes your way. Because as you now have become aware of, I am here for more, then yes, there are some things in life that's supposed to happen to try to get you off track. Here again, it talks about that. It says something about the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And And when you start getting this awareness of purpose, like, oh, I'm gonna start a business. Oh my goodness. So many tests, trials, and so many negative people and different things will show up to knock off track, because a thief won't steal anything that's not valuable. So if you feel like you have a lot of these things happening to you and happening around you that's taking your focus or attempting to distract you, then you might just be working with something valuable. And it might just be inside. Because most of the attacks come with the mind. Because if they can attack the very mind that we have these thoughts and ideas and everything from, that come from the Creator, then they're winning. And that's what life, in the negative sense, tries to come steal. But in a positive sense, if we look at a problem as an opportunity for planned growth by the Creator, then we look at it differently. It's really about the lens that you're using. And that's still at the discovery stage of your purpose. This is still right at the beginning. The Bible even talks about that. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Boom, vision shows up, purpose shows up, the creation shows up. Then the earth was formless and void. Formless and void. Chaos showed up. It's like right after I wrote the business plan, right after I got the LLC going, right after I get my business license and my business account, and I got the website going and I'm getting some traction in it. Boom, chaos. Testing the authenticity of your vision, of your dream, of you. You are your brand, and that's what I really want you to realize, is that you are a walking LLC full of purpose, full of power, full of authority. And if we don't realize that, then we're never going to do what we were truly made and called to do. And as we transition from, all right, now we got an idea of what our purpose is and what's next, is really development. We know about development, right? Everything develops. You can't skip a stage. There's always points of inspection, even through this life that we live. Think about a house being built. You have this builder, the developers building this house up. You got all the people on the team, and everybody has a task, and everybody needs to be on task. But imagine if a builder said, let's just skip these steps here, and now the inspection comes. Will they pass the inspection? Probably not, because they skipped some important steps. And what's important about all of them? Every last one of them. Every single day. Every moment, every trial, every tribulation, every frustrating moment, every good moment, all of it is full of purpose. All of it has a reason behind it. Life is full of reasons that we may not ever know why something happens, but it's full of purpose behind what you're supposed to be doing. Everything that happens has a purpose behind it. And if we can start look at life like, okay, what's the reason behind this? Then we can start really catapulting so many leaps and bounds, because now we don't spend time, man, why me? I heard Les Brown say this, one of my favorite motivational speakers here, why not you? Who do you suggest this happen to? I mean, pick somebody, point it out, but why not you? And as we kind of compare this back to athletics, coaches really ride the players that have the most potential. They get on them more and more, and they make them do more, and they have higher expectations, and they keep talking to them, and they fussing at them, and they're trying to bring this thing inside, or this thing inside of them outside, and they keep putting more and more pressure to see if they can really reach their full potential. So my question for you is this: if life has been lifing, as they say, and you've been so frustrated, maybe the coach sees something in you that you don't. Maybe he sees the potential in you that you don't. And maybe we should let it happen. Maybe we should start looking at life so different and start intentionally taking leaps to learn the lessons that he's sending our way. Because the development process, y'all, is really not pretty. Think about a seed being buried. It looks just like a burial, but a seed technically is not buried, it's planted. It's intentionally planted, and sometimes seeds fall along the way. They may not get in the best soil or environment, but a seed technically is dead until it's planted. It will never reach its full potential sitting on the counter in the kitchen. But a seed begins to reach its full potential when it's planted. Let's talk about an apple seed. See, we can see the number of apple seeds we may have in our hand. But can you see the number of apples within that seed? No, you can't. Only the creator of the seed can see how much multiplication it can have, and I hope you follow me. So others may not be able to see anything but the one you. And you may not be able to see anything but you as well. It's just me. I'm just one person. But the creator of the seed or the person can see what you truly can multiply. And he also understands the need for development. He also understands the growth process. He also understands that many of us won't intentionally put ourselves in an uncomfortable situation to where we can cause that growth. So he does it for us. And the amount of pressure caused, think about it. If you squeeze in the grape, eventually what's on the inside of the grape comes out because of the pressure. Too much pressure at once can destroy it, but just enough can squeeze out the juices that can be used for later. And as the seed is planted in this environment, remember, we're at your development stage. It's dark, it's dirty, it's alone, it's isolated, there's pressure. All the dirt around it, you can't see. It's down there by itself. Sure, there are other seeds or people around going through the same process, but I'm in this by myself right now. I don't feel like no one can help me right now. But what we don't see is the gardener or the creator steadily watering the ground, and life, even at times, the rain watering the ground, and different things happening. Now the sun comes out, causing different things to happen that no one can see from the outside of the seed. And it's not even so much that the things on the outside cause the breaking of the shell, but it's what's going on the inside. The capacity, the reaching for more, the growth that's occurring on the inside of the seed is what causes the breaking of the shell. So there's growth not being seen on many different facets. The outside people can't see what's going on the inside of you. And a lot of times, nor can we see what's going on the inside of us. And we're so frustrated. And a lot of times we squirm and try to move outside of the pressure that the creator is letting life cause. And if we can slip out of the pressure, we can prolong our destiny. But if we can stay in the pressure, in the development stages that God has already allowed life to bring our way. And that's the thing about it. You have to start looking around to see how that even works. What has been working, not even for you, but on you. Everything won't work for you, but everything has the opportunity and the potential to work on you or in you. And as your capacity grows, as you have this internal growth and mindset shifting and different activities that you're not applying to your life because you do want this change, then the shell starts to break, but the exposure still doesn't happen. See, you're not exposed to the world just yet because you still have a development process. And a lot of times when you think about the seed, the roots grow down first. And it grows down more and more to get a good grip on the environment. Think about it. To get a good grip on the environment that it's in, to get a good knowledge base on what you're made to do and what your purpose is. And the more you get a good grip and a foundational hold on this thing, you get this to this level of mastery. You get to this level of mastery, then you can start growing up more and more, getting closer and closer to the exposure, but you don't want to be exposed too soon. Imagine a seed not planted at the proper depth so it can get the good foundation. Let's say it was planted a little too close to the surface. Even through the growth process, another outside force can come and destroy it before it's ready. You get birds picking out from the yard. Sometimes they'll dig in and grab a seed. Other animals. Or the growth process starts. The roots start going down. But the exposure through the dirt to the light. Yeah, we all like lights, camera action. You want to be seen sometimes. Not everybody, but you definitely want your business to be seen. You want your skills to be seen. You want people to recognize what you do. That's the whole point of starting a business, to make some type of money and take care of your family too, and make even enough to where you can take care of other people around and help them get to their level of destiny and gift and abilities, right? but exposure too soon can be deadly. Imagine how hard it is to pull up some weeds from the ground that have been sitting there for a while. The root system is all in there. But if it just starts, you can pull a weed right out with 2 fingers. Same thing with a seed that's meant to grow and multiply. If it gets exposed too soon, if you get exposed too soon and you try to run through the development process, let's skip through the stages. I don't want to have to go through all this. I feel like I should be able to do it now. And I've been there. I felt that way. Man, why isn't it happening now? But exposure too soon to a different element that you're not ready for can kill you. It can take you out. The seed, it can take you out. And that seed can now get destroyed from the elements that were really meant to help it grow. Or an outside force now has easier access to destroy it before it's ready for full reveal or exposure. So that development process, y'all, is so important. And I hope that you hear, and I hope that you see yourself in that. I hope that you see now, as you look around, dang, okay, how have I been developing? Well, I don't even know my gift and my purpose yet. Great. Don't worry, we're double back into that. We're going back to that. Just want you to see how this progression can happen. And then we're going to throw some information at you, some activities, so you can start writing down, like we gave you in that activity sheet, you can start writing down the things that you have recognized in your life that just might be part of what you're made to do. So development, life is not meant to break you in a sense, but it's meant to have something happen so great inside of you that you break out of your old self. Jesus, after that tempting, after he resisted in the appetite, after he resisted giving up power to a source that he shouldn't give up his power to, and just show power just to show power and abuse it. After he resisted the prideful attempt from Satan saying, hey, let me take you to this mountain, I'll give you all this, worship me. After he resisted being so prideful and just wanting to be seen, then that enemy, that outside force left. And then you'll see later in the passage that then he began to proclaim his message. And he was released into his purpose. After he passed the test, a series of them. And that's why I keep trying to tell you and remind everyone listening, if you felt like you've been tested and tried, you're in good company. The process is working. The process is working. I'm being particular, but are we? Are we allowing it to work? Or are we fighting against it? Think about it. Weightlifting. When you add a certain level of resistance, you begin to build more muscles because the resistance in you pushing or pulling, it works for you and it don't feel good all the time. But you have to be doing the right push or pull exercise based on the level of resistance so you can actually see the results. And it doesn't show up overnight. There's a progression. There's a commitment. There's a certain amount of time each day. There has to be a plan. There has to be even details and being precise on what you consume to help that process move better and faster. Because if I'm consuming Little Debbie cakes every day and eating terrible stuff every day, but I want to cause myself and say that I'm working out, trying to develop more muscle, and I'm not taking in the type of proteins or other things that I need to consume properly, then I'm stunting my own growth. So as we talk about development, have you been stunting your growth with the type of information that you've been consuming? Or have you made a information shift to consume the things that will help you develop better and faster, and specifically according to what you say, what you feel you're made to do? That consumption of information is important because that helps you with your development process. So you keep going through this development process, and the next thing is, well, when can I get out there? Like, okay, I've been developing. Well, part of the development process, right before you being deployed fully into it, is you got to start practicing, right? So I get it. When can I start? Start. But you got to start, right? You may not be able to charge people just yet because you're still trying to master it. getting to a level of mastery and your own confidence, inner confidence and recognition. So you might have to do some things that just don't cost just yet to get your name out there so people can see and provide testimony, so they can start telling people about, man, this person has an amazing skill set or gift in their business and it did X, Y, and Z for me. I've been talking about purpose and coaching purpose and life principles and personal development for over a decade. It wasn't intentionally. I just love to talk about it. And anytime somebody had that, man, that life, it sucks. It was like an opportunity. Ooh, let's talk. So for years, people that I was employed with and my coworkers, I would have conversations with them, and I've seen many of them go on to do some amazing things. And it's so funny because I remember one of them came back. I had conversations with pretty much all of them, but one of the guys came back. We had lunch, and he said, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" I'm like, "Man, go ahead, shoot." He said, "So what about you?" He said, "Does it frustrate you that you see us, people that you've talked to about purpose in life, and we go off and we go living our purpose and living our dreams?" He said, "But you're still here working. Does that bother you?" I said, "It's kind of tough, but I love to see other people win too." See, I'm all about giving someone else information that takes them to a whole nother level. That's what this is about. My gift is supposed to serve the world. Because if I keep it to myself, am I really benefiting anybody? I'm definitely not benefiting myself. As we talked about the seed analogy, and now this apple tree has grown fully and it's producing countless number of apples, but does the tree really benefit from its own fruit? Can it really consume its own fruit? Let me say it like that. It benefits from the fruit that it keeps multiplying because the creator or the farmer who planted that seed in that garden sees how great it's doing, so I'm going to keep taking care of that tree because it's taking care of me. And when God sees you walking in your purpose, living out your assignment, being a fruit, being a seed that's producing fruit and serving others, being a great service to others, working and lives are being changed because you want to serve others and you want to help others reach their full potential, or you want to bring a level of happiness and satisfaction through your service and your products to other people, then the gardener or the creator will keep things going because technically you're operating within what he said for you to do. So he's really footing the bill of what he made you to do anyway. Think about an investor. If we have an investment meeting and we say we're going to do A, B, and C, but I start doing X, Y, Z, they're like, "Wait, I didn't put money in you for that." Pulling out. But if we do A, B, and C, and do it good, do it real good, those investors will keep investing and pouring into the vision, pouring into the purpose. And that's here again, back to the importance of you really need to want to know your purpose, want to know your assignment. And no, it doesn't always have to come from a life suck feeling, but it has to come. You have to want to know it. And the great enemy of that is comfort. I'm too comfortable. And if you're too comfortable, are you really going to do anything else? Which is why God allows a lot of times life to happen to get you uncomfortable, to get you frustrated, because that level of frustration is actually what causes you to start thinking outside the box, because you say, "Man, this sucks. I don't want to do this forever. I don't want to be working this job forever. They don't appreciate me," or maybe they do, but it still is no fulfillment. Maybe they do appreciate you. Maybe you're having what people say success at workplace and everything. Maybe even in your businesses that you started, but you still feel like, man, there's something missing. I'm doing great. I'm making money. Something's missing. I don't know. I can't shake it. Something's missing. And see, the thing that's missing is you doing what you were made to do. We should have multiple streams of income. We should. We should have multiple things that we do well. We should. But you should do what you were made to do fully. And a cell phone is meant to make calls. It's meant to communicate with others. And if you never use it for that purpose, then you're missing out on its main function. So as we talk about now getting closer to deployment, we talked about passing those tests. We talked about the 5 questions. Who am I? Where am I from? Why am I here? What can I do? Where am I going? These are things that you should be seeing inside of yourself. These are questions that if you haven't asked yourself, even as I just asked them again, how many of those have you asked yourself before? And how much time are you willing to devote to getting to your next level, getting to what your purpose and your assignment is, getting to know what that is? It reminds me of this story, and I want to share it real quick. And it's about how people pursue purpose, people pursue assignment. So there's this person, they were in their house and they lost their keys in the house. And they're looking frantically for their keys, searching under the couches, between the cushions. They're searching because they can't find their keys that they lost inside the house. So they exit the house and they're outside on their street, in their yard, looking for the keys. But they know they lost them inside the house, but they're outside the house looking everywhere for the keys. And it got the attention of several neighbors. They're like, what are you doing? Man, I'm looking for my keys. I lost my keys. So they out there helping. They're looking under vehicles, down the street, looking in the backyard, looking in the front yard, in the hedges and the bushes. And one of the neighbors said, man, we've been out for hours. Where did you lose your keys at? He said, I lost them inside. Many of us have looked outside for the very thing that's inside. The fruit of the seed is inside the seed. When it's put in a pressurized place for development, the inside of that seed begins to grow. No one can see it. I don't know if it's painful or not, but I would say for a human, some of this life experience has been painful. But there's something growing inside of you that has been growing, and you may not have ever realized it. And the more pressure you get in life, the more it grows, the more it changes, the more your mind changes. And it could be for the good or for the bad, but we have to be intentional on focusing on how can I see some good out of this. We all have some situations that are frustrating us to the core, that get us so mad that it might bring us to tears or want to make us fight and just do the worst things ever. But we have to make the choice to see that pressure, those trials, those tribulations, those tests for what they are, and they're opportunities for growth. Even crisis, when crisis comes, when you look in the Asian culture, there's no word for crisis. It's actually opportunity. So as the world is in crisis all around, that's opportunity. The most businesses have been birthed when crisis happens, when problems show up, and you can be the first to solve the problem. You have just established a business and you will be the most successful. Think about a pond or ocean shark in that area because you got to it first. So there's a key. What problems do you see around you? I want to go to our worksheet that we have. So here again, if you're part of the Zoom and you registered for this, and if you're on YouTube, just track along, grab something to write down with. But the Purpose Playbook Huddle, we got this activity sheet. So as we even talk through this next steps, I want you to think about these few things, because this is talking about the discovery and the development of your purpose. And as you get closer to the deployment, think about this. I want you to really think on this. What activities do you execute naturally? What do you do that comes so natural that you didn't have any training to it? You're just good at this. I do this and it comes easy. Then what training or educational background do you have? I want you to think about that. Think about it, because it matters. Because sometimes we got to think like, why did I even do this? Or even along the way of something that we were intended to do, we take classes and courses, or we read certain things and information that works on us and we don't even know it. So what training or educational background do you have? That was the second question. Here's the third. What have other people told you you're great at doing? What if people said, man, you are good at that? Or man, you are really great at that. Man, I haven't seen anybody do this better than you. What if people told you that you're really good at it, that you're great at it, that they recognize, not that you went to ask them, but you did something like, oh my goodness, they were blown away. Here's another one, last one. Actually, second to last. What are you doing when time seems to disappear? What activity, what do you do where time escapes you? If you can't tell already, mine is talking. I can talk all day long. I can go when it's about a topic, when it's about helping somebody, whether it be relationships, whether it be purpose finding, I can talk. I coach football, talk to my players, help them see the game different, right? and time escapes me. So what do you do that time just escapes you and you don't even realize, man, I've been at this for an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, and I don't even realize it. What is that? Last question from our activity sheet. Here, I hope you write these down. What would you do absolutely free if money was a non-factor? What would you do absolutely free? And I'm gonna throw one more in there. If you can only do one thing for the rest of your life and you feel like you can only pick one activity, and I'll tell you why. I'm gonna set it up. So I do football training or athletic training. I train athletes. I do motivational speaking. I talk. I know how to teach aspects and principles from the Bible. So that's what talking. We have a clothing line. We also have a product we invented for runners. You know, to hold your phone. You know, like a police bulletproof vest. You hold your phone there and you work your touch screen. So we do all those things, right? And I'm just talking about business-wise, because life-wise, I'm a husband, a father, and I love that. I will never stop doing it. But I say this to say this. Listen, if I could only choose one activity to do for the rest of my life, as much as I love football and I love training, it wouldn't be that. As much as I kind of enjoy sometimes doing our clothing brand and putting stuff out there, going to the expos and shows, it wouldn't be that. As much as I enjoy the process of inventing our invention and getting out there, and I love the idea, and I know how to sew and put it together and manufacture it, I wouldn't do that. What I need to keep doing is talking. That makes me complete. Because if I can talk and I see the spark in somebody's eyes and I see them now seeing life differently, if I see them now putting practical steps in place and now they start to progress properly and purposely in their life and they're living this level of excitement, that's what gets my heart and keeps my heart beating. It feels like game day. It feels like game day, but you gotta want it. Like, that's how I want it. I want you to win. I want to see you win. I want to see you put the pieces together. But you, for yourself in your life, and yes, I hold shirt that I stay mad concept, you gotta want it. You gotta stay motivated and determined through this whole process. Even when life sucks, listen, the person is not a coward, even if they run into the dangers and they're scared as I don't know what. They still did it in the fear. They still did it in their cowardness because they still felt the impulse to go help. The person is still motivated even on the day they don't want to do anything. They're supposed to do a cardio day and they still do it, but they were talking negative the whole time. But guess what? They still were motivated to get it done. And that's the importance of seeing your way through this, because the thing that's already growing on the inside through your development phase is the very thing that once it cracks through the shell and once it gets a good grip on the earth and the foundation with the root system, you have a level of mastery now in this thing, and now you have gotten the exposure and you continue to grow, and your exposure, people can see you more and more because you really can't see a seed that just came through the ground. But give it some time, and as it grows up more and more, then you can see it from a distance. And until you can start being seen from a distance, sometimes you won't have the influence, but you still need to be intentional and purposeful on your growth and your mastery. And all those tests that will come with that exposure, like I talked about even before Jesus went into his ministry, he was tested in that appetite, that pride, and that power. And when he passed all those tests, then he was released to do his purpose and talk about the kingdom of God and the very thing that changed the culture. And he was demonstrating the power. So not only did he have a message, he had power that backed it. And that's supposed to be for us. Not only do you have a service or a product, you have the proof of that service or a product and its effectiveness and how it changes people. We're following the blueprint. And all this is in the Bible, y'all. The blueprint is there. That's why I say it's not a religious book. Give it another chance, check it out. Look at it from a business and a life development aspect. And if you need help doing so, hit us up. I'm game. Because your deployment has to be the right time. You have to be deployed in the right area, in the right time. And you have to be ready. And that deployment is the very thing that can put you in position of not having to work in the settings that you normally had to work. Remember, sow a seed in the morning and don't let your hands be idle in the evening, because you don't know if this or that or both will take over. So those on Zoom, I want y'all to write down some questions right now. Like, I want you to think about it. I want you to write down questions you may have even as we've been talking. YouTube, you can do the same. You can go live or go. Write down if you have a question, right? And I'll see if we can get them covered at the end. But based on those steps that I just gave you from the Purpose Playbook, I really want you to think about that. I want you to think about the last few things I said. Listen, if money was a non-issue, what would you do? Like if you knew you couldn't fail, if you knew it was impossible to fail, what would you do? What is that thing? If you knew it was impossible to fail, how would you go about doing that? I bet you would take that risk now. Heck, I can't fail. So if it's impossible for you to fail, if you knew that was the case, and now you got this dream that you've been dreaming about all your life, this thing that won't leave you alone, it's different than just a passion. This is a purpose. See, a passion is something that brings out this emotion to you, but the purpose is this thing that you feel compelled to achieve. That thing, what if you knew you couldn't fail when you started? Because like, what is failure? What is failure really? It's really just quitting and giving up. Because all the other attempts could be viewed as lessons learned, that you tried something and maybe it didn't work that way or that time. But if you keep going and you keep learning and you pivot where you need to pivot and change what you need to change, you won't fail. But you gotta stay consistent and keep going. You gotta allow all this process to work. You gotta allow life to do what life does to get you to the point where now you are concerned about your purpose. Now you want to discover your purpose. And then you can start looking at even stuff in the past that happened that has been assisting with you in your purpose. So I was in a career for a long time that, football was done. And even in football, I was a team captain, pretty much all the teams that I played at some point. And I had high levels of success, entered into the Hall of Fame in the college that I went to. Had an amazing time. Didn't make it to the NFL. Short stint, really ball, semi-pro, because I kept trying to grow into it too long. But I talked a lot there. And I was always a motivator there. But I never saw that as my purpose because I thought football was my purpose. So I didn't see the gift that God has given me. And people used to always say that. And even early in coaching high school football and from little league to high school, always talking to the players, getting them motivated. And I remember one of my first years coaching high school, certain players would always come to me, coach, tell me something. Come on, coach, get me going. And I always had something to say. I didn't realize my purpose until the things from my past were removed that were blocking me from seeing. To the lens that I was looking at life through as a football player that had to be removed. I'm not saying that's for everything. But I want you to think about it. Physical activity can only be done for so long, but your mind, that muscle there doesn't get tired like your body. So at some point, we have to move from the level of just like implementation of physical activity to the mental aspect, to the managing aspect, to the imagination aspect, because the more you can imagine, the more you can put in place and put in practice and build a team to do so, the greater your chances are for success. Another biblical principle, if one can put down 1,000 and two can put down 10,000, that's networking. That's partnership. Here again, I told you, it's not a religious book, y'all. There's so much stuff in there, it's ridiculous. But these are the things that we got to think about as we start progressing through that discovery, development, and deployment. And everyone goes through those stages at different times in their life. So if you're 60, if you're 50, if you're 40, if you're 20, if you're a teenager right now watching, it doesn't matter. At some point, you're going to come across, why am I here? At some point, life is going to life so much that you can be like, oh, this is aggravating. And at some point, even through high levels of what the world sees as success, and I'm going to give you a different definition for success, but even through the success that you may have seen, there still might be a level of emptiness. And you're like, dang, I want to live a meaningful life. I've accumulated money and wealth. Why am I still empty? Because true success is this: to live a life the way that you were purposed to live and created to live by God. That is success. There's another biblical principle about gifting, and it says the master gave his servants or his employees. He said he gave one person 5 talents, he gave another one 2, and he gave another person 1. Now talents back in the day, they were saying equivalent to like $700,000. So let's just imagine, let's just say it's like $500,000. So one person he gave $500,000. Another person he gave $1 million. Another person he gave, I can't even think about that, right? person that had the 5 talents doubled it. The person that had the 2 talents doubled theirs. The person that had the 1 talent did nothing with it, buried it. So when the master came back, he said, hey, I've been gone for quite some time. I want to see what you've done with what I gave you. Hear this. I want to see what you have done with what I had given you before I left. What I sent you away with. So the one that had doubled their money, the one with the 5, said, hey, I had 5, now I got 10. Here you go. He said, great, well done, my good faithful servant. The next one, hey, I had 2, I doubled it, there's 4. Great, well done, my good faithful servant. And the last one said, Master, I know you're a hard man and that you don't, he was fearful. Like, I didn't want to blow it, so I did nothing here. Now listen, that servant returned to the master what he gave. He didn't steal it, but he gave it back to him. And he said, man, I was wicked. You didn't even try it. So what am I saying to you? You gotta try it. When should I start with business? Now. Start doing something now. Start writing stuff down now. Start trying to get better at it now. Well, I don't know what my purpose is. Well, then now it's time for meditation. It's time to answer these questions. Take an inventory of your skills, gifts, and abilities. You got to do that thing now. Get a coach. Find somebody to help you with that. That's what I do. That's what we do as a company. It's time to invest in you. I got 2 companies. I Stay Mad and Activate You. Both of them really serve the same purpose. We're here to activate the person fully in all aspects of their life to help them realize and see life in many different ways that maybe they just didn't see before. To help them along the way, not to hold their hand all the way, but to help them, challenge them, put them in situations, let them see life differently so now they can progress and really see real success doing and living life in the manner that you were created to do, created to live. So you have to ask yourself the tough questions. You have to sit down and take an inventory of your skills, gifts, and abilities. Write down everything that you're good at doing. The questions that we asked you on our activity sheet. Add another one. Just write down everything that you're skilled at. Don't minimize it. Even if it's, well, I'm very organized. Write that down because everybody's not organized. Understand this. A lot of jobs were created because somebody didn't like doing that aspect of the job. Garbage collection. Somebody said, I don't want to collect garbage. Now, they may have started out to get the business going, but guess what? They got it going so much they saw a problem because people needed to throw garbage out, and garbage will always be there. And maybe people didn't want to go to the landfills and host. Now here we go. You get all these garbage truck companies go around collecting garbage because most of us don't want to ride to the landfill and throw out our garbage. That we can actually do for free because we live in the county. A lot of that stuff is free. A business for birth from I see a problem and I don't want to necessarily do that, but I know how to solve it. How well are we at solving problems? That's what we got to do. What problems do I see in my community right now? And as I look at the problems, I want you to look at your gift list, your skills list, your knowledge list, your educational list, right? And see how many of those problems that you automatically solve based on your own gift and skill set. Because you just might have a business, especially if you link up with the right people. Remember, one can take out 1,000, 2 can take out 50. Right? Partnering is not the worst thing because some of the pie is better than no pie. Right? So these are things you got to think about as you start progressing through your gifts, your skills and abilities, and wanting to actually do more, wanting to actually tap into what you were made to do. Y'all, is that important? I want to leave you with one thing before we close. These stages that I've explained to you today are really just the top of the cake. There's so much more that needs to be done. There's a lot more work that has to go into this. And I don't even have time to give all the information in an hour and a half. We're just right at an hour right now. But it's so much more that in a one-on-one setting and being able to focus, which is why a lot of athletes do personal training. Because when you're on a team in a setting like this and we have multiple people here and if we could try to answer all the questions that may be out there. But a coach can't do one-on-one training with every player, which is why a lot of athletes go to get a personal trainer, a personal coach to help them work on the things that maybe the coaches have brought up at practice, but I don't have time or they didn't have time to really sit you down or to bring you to the side and say, hey, make sure you plant with your foot this way, make sure you take the step that way, right? So this personal coach or this personal trainer now can get them and maybe accumulate some of the film, look at what they're talking about, sit down with them, write down their goals, write down what they're designed to do, all these different types of things, and get them on the field and start working on those one-on-one things to make them elevate and get themselves to a whole nother level. That's what personal coaches do, personal trainers do. All of us need that. We need a mentor a lot of times. Because all of us have that purpose. All of us have a purpose in us. Remember, a snowflake, they haven't seen one design duplicated from a snowflake in all the years they've been collecting samples. And these things melt in seconds. They freeze the snowflakes, they look at the design, and they're like, wait, why is this not duplicated? The great designer, the creator of heaven, too amazing. Too amazing. And he put so much purpose in so many things. And if you think as a human being you don't have any purpose, I just ask you to reconsider. Look at the number of species of birds and the beauty and the designs and the animals and the colors and the variations. Put a lot of time into that. And you put a lot of time into it, but the great thing about you is after he created you, he broke the mold. Because you are one of one. Hear that again. You are a one of one. Which is why sometimes it's so hard for us to figure out what we're supposed to do, because there's not a specific blueprint just for us. And that's why you need to tap into the mind of the creator, the one who created you, the inventor, the one who put you here. If you don't know how to do that, and yes, there are coaches that can help you do that better. Here again, that's what we do here. That's what we put on these webinars. So at least get the information in front of you, and then we have offers for you to where you can do some one-on-one sessions. All that IStayMad.com is where we at. But so you can do these one-on-one sessions, so you can walk away in a better position to accomplishing a fulfilled life. Sometimes the coach has to make you do extra sprints to get you ready for the part of the game that's coming that he or she has seen and knows that's coming because of the competition that they have already studied and or have went. And the extra reps are necessary. Life brings pain for your purposed gains. Life brings pain for your purposed gains. And you have to let it happen. You really don't have a choice. The only choice you have is how you respond to it. And if you respond, if any of us keep responding negatively to those things, then you won't make any positive steps. But if you can embrace what's happening, if you can start looking at things through the right lens and looking at life and lessons and problems as potential progress, then life changes. Then you change. And now you can put yourself in a position not only just help yourself, but your family for generations to come and your community. Frustration, seeking, realizing you have something valuable, and then you go to proclaim. So frustration happens. Then you start to seek more meaningful life. Then you realize you got something valuable. And then you start proclaiming that value. Discovery of your purpose helps you do that. Development of your purpose. Being deployed into your purpose. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be some highs and some lows. But the thing is, you have to keep going. At the beginning of the webinar, we talked about the negative progression from walking to standing to sitting and keeping bad company. I intentionally didn't give you the last 2 steps because I wanted to save them for now. Those were 5 action items that I started going over. I wanted everyone to realize this. And this was a description of a successful person. And this is how I am. Blessed is the person who doesn't walk in the step of the wicked, who doesn't stand in the way that sinners take, step 2, who doesn't sit in a company of mockers, step 1. We're talking about the blessed person. And for the 2 action items you should do. But who delights in the law of the Lord and meditates on his law day and night. So you actually like God's law and you think about it day and night. That person is like a tree planted near streams of water. Trees need water to live. And the book is saying the person who does these things is like a tree near the very thing they need to live and never running out of that, which yields its fruit in season. That means you're always producing fruit. When you're supposed to produce fruit, you're producing fruit. You're not going to have an off season. I'm going to produce what I'm supposed to produce and what I'm supposed to produce, and whose leaf doesn't wither. That means even in the out of seasons, I still look good. Even in economic crisis, I still look good. We're still good because I'm always producing fruit. So even in the off seasons that are my season to produce, I have done enough and I've been blessed so much and I'm still looking good. So I'm not withering, looking like now I don't have fruit to produce. And it says the last thing is, whatever they do prospers. The person who doesn't go into three-step negative progression and does two things that I love to hear about God's law, I meditate it on a day and night and these principles, and I make it important to me, that person will prosper in everything they do. So here's the challenge. First, I thank you for your time, that you invested to sit here and listen. But here's the challenge. Are you ready to invest in yourself more now than before? Are you ready to maybe get the next step, get the level of coaching needed to move to your next step? Because yes, you have a purpose and value, and I would hate that you keep going through life maybe wondering, I don't know if I have purpose, because you do. Because everything in life does. Even the smallest insect that we don't even think has purpose has purpose. Everything has purpose. So are you ready to invest into yours? We have an offer for a one-on-one training. We only offer it to a number of people. To where you can go on there, istayman.com, and sign up. It's 3 sessions an hour long. You pick your dates. This is where you actually can dive in the one-on-one sessions about what you're made to do. See, our webinars, we want to introduce you to it. We want you to think about, if you haven't already, what your purpose is. But the one-on-one coaching is, now we're focusing on you. So instead of like being on a team of 120 and coaches coaching of everybody, and hey, reps, now we can slow it down, pull you to the side. Hey, let's see why your steps are off. Let's see why you're not getting to that step as fast as you should. Let's see why you're missing out on that shot too much. Now we can start breaking down and looking at your life and seeing what has happened, seeing what needs to happen, and implementing and giving out the resources and everything that you need to get you to your next step, to get your eyes fully focused. And I tell my players all the time, eye discipline. When I coach DBs, defensive backs in football, if you get your eyes in a place where they shouldn't be, you getting beat just like that. If you're coming in to make a tackle and you close your eyes and you look somewhere else, you missing the tackle just like that. Now you affected the whole team and the whole game. And you not living out your life full of purpose is affecting more than you know, and it's not just you. The world is depending on, people are depending on you tapping into your full purpose. There are people whose lives will not be changed because you have not reached your full potential yet. And when you can think about it, when Deion Sanders played football, he's a cornerback, he would lock down a whole side of the field, and the defensive coordinator and the coach didn't have to worry about that side of the field. So now the players can lock down everything else. He helped out his team by tapping to his skills, gifts, and abilities and putting in the work necessary to get at a high level of performance. Are you ready to work? And if you are, go to istayman.com. Look up the one-on-one personalized sessions. It's called the Purpose Revealed. One-on-one sessions. You get 3 sessions for $3.99. Most people pay with a credit card. $3.99. You can pick your sessions. We'll talk before even the sessions get started. I'll make sure we reach out to you to get you prepped and ready for what you need as far as materials, the resources that you should get, what you should grab. Are you ready for it? That's the question. And will you stay hungry through the process? Because once purpose is revealed, chaos that comes is meant to catapult you and put you on a collision course with your destiny, with the way God with the way He created you to live. Full of meaning, full of purpose, full of joy. No matter what happens around us, yes, life won't be perfect, but you'll understand the meaning of life now. And you'll be in a better position to help everybody around. Check out IStayMad.com. Want more? This was just only the beginning. There's so much more that needs to be revealed, that you need to tap into, that your life needs to be different, because you have people who need you to be the best version of you, so their lives can change too. God bless.